What's up? Hope you guys are having a wonderful day, and I'm all nice and fat and happy, and just had some dinner. And now we're gonna get you guys fat and happy with some mindset. How about that? So I am super happy to be here. I am super pumped up because I have got a lot of good stuff going on. Um, we've definitely got some things lined up for the next coming weeks. I've got a lot of cool content that I've been putting together. I've been able to spend a lot of time really focusing on value and focusing on helping you guys just really push yourselves forward and be the best damn marketers you can be, right? So stick with me today. We're going to go through something really fun. But first, before we do that, if you're coming on live, throw me down a hashtag live. If you're coming on the replay, throw me down a hashtag replay, and tell your friends. I love being able to, interact with people during these. And so I'd be love to be able to see a lot of stuff coming through, people coming on here. And I love answering your questions too, during these. So otherwise, what we'll go ahead and do is tell you a little bit about me. So my name is Josh. My wife and I, we're marketers, and we've been marketers for years now. And we've done quite a few bit of things. We've done network marketing. We've done affiliate marketing. We've done direct response marketing. We've done all this other stuff. And now we're working on helping people, and we want people to be able to live their best life, and whatever that means for just, what's happening. So the big thing right now is we have a lot of people that we're helping, but we're helping in ways that, we can manage, our time, and they can manage their time, and it's not taking up a lot of time. So that's what we're here to do. That's what we're doing today. That's what we're going to give you today, is some mindset, some help, some push forward to get you rolling. So what we're going to talk about today is something that we're going to start off this whole power series, right? And so this power series is something that I think is really important, because this is going to be things like the power of action, the power of words, the power of thoughts, but not in a way you would expect. And what's up, Kim in the house? Love having you here. It's awesome. So power, right? What is power? Well, power can be a number of things to many people. But when I think about power, I think about just like your mental power, your physical power, your emotional power. And today we're going to talk a little bit about a lot of that stuff, or all of those areas. And what we're going to talk about is friendships. Now, friendships are powerful. You can take over the world with friendships. You can take down the big baddies. You can conquer anything you want to, as long as you got a friend by your side. Your life is a better place to be in. The world is a better place with those people. So when we talk about friendships, like, one of the things that we have that happens is sometimes our friendships kind of fall apart. And so today we're going to talk about actions that cost you your friendships. Now, this isn't going to be a negative connotation. What we're going to do is we're going to talk about things that can happen and ways that you can overcome those fallacies when it comes to trying to continue a long-lasting friendship. So, like it says, if you had read the description of the video, I asked, did someone say something to you that pushed you away? Or did you have a falling out with a friend and questioned what happened? Well, everybody has that happen. I've had that happen plenty of times. I've had that happen in my personal life. I've had that happen, in our online business. I've had that happen in our offline businesses. I've had that happen at work. It happens. But why does it happen? Well, number one, people love to be around joyous people. That's what builds people up, right? And so they find ways to be around them. But sometimes people aren't always joyous. Sometimes people aren't always positive. Sometimes they're not always being lifted up in a way that they want to be. And so sometimes those feelings of being joyous can kind of fall apart. Hey, Harvey, thanks for being on live, buddy. Appreciate you. So what happens is, when you have those down days, sometimes that can rub people the wrong way. Now, don't get me wrong, right? Like, we all have our down days. We all have our moments where just we aren't that positive attitude all the time. But it's what you do and the attitude you have towards those bad days and how you handle them, and whether or not you see more good than bad in anything that happens to you. And that's where some of these fallacies can have a bigger impact. So like, a person who, let's say somebody who's more joyous because they have more positivity and they see the good in situations, they're probably someone who you want to be around more often. And we see a lot of those people in anywhere in our lives. But in some instances, you find the people that are more negative in those situations, right? You find people that are a little bit more standoffish. They play the victim, things like that. So one of the things that happens when friendships end is there's usually two sides to the story, right? Usually one person says, well, this happened. And the other person goes, I don't know, this happened. And what happens is they usually say that they're not to blame. They usually say that, well, I wasn't the one that actually did this first, or this other person did this other thing first. And I just, was playing off of that. And what this does is this causes people to feel like they're forced to pick sides, and not just the two people having the problem with the friendship, but also the people outside of the circle, because now the third party friends, the external friends, are now thinking like, if you're friends with both people, how do you know who to believe? How do you know who to really put your effort into, and who to like, you start feeling like you have to pick sides. And that's not what we want to do. And especially in the marketing world, you don't ever want to be in a position where you have two people that you've connected with and one person does something maybe really crappy. And you then have to be like, well, do I believe that person and what they said after what they did, or do I believe the other person? But maybe it was the other person that caused that situation. We never know. And so what causes this mix up, right? Why is it that people just never can, some people, not all people, but some people can never just reconcile some of those differences? Like they fall apart, and that's just what happens. They just get apart from each other. And one of them, a big one, I think, is self-centeredness, right? So someone who is more interested in their own gain or loss, or what their feelings are, with no consideration of the other person's feelings. And a way to know if someone is being that self-centered person within this friendship and things, that these actions that ruin friendships, is what do they do, right? Are they playing the victim all the time? Do they always say like, oh, well, you're saying bad things about me, or you made me feel this way, or I just nothing ever goes right for me, or whatever the case may be? Do they always act like they're not the one to blame and that everything always happens to them and it's never their fault? Well, that's playing the victim, right? You're acting like every external force possible is raining down on you, and there's no way that you could be at fault for any of these things. And unfortunately, what happens is that pushes people away. That creates a toxic environment, because the other person now has to get defensive, because, and they don't have to, but it happens. That's how these get broken apart. And so they start getting defensive and go, well, hey, no, I didn't do that to you, or that wasn't my intention, or that's not the way I wanted you to see it, but you really took this out of proportion. And sometimes that can go both ways, right? Sometimes that can be where, when you're sitting here talking with somebody who plays a victim, they can say, well, you took it out of context, and now I'm being shown as the bad guy. Well, okay, so what if we took it out of context? Let's fix the context. Let's fix the problem. And so a way that you can get past the self-centeredness, if you find yourself doing this yourself, is start thinking about, what qualities do you expect of other people, right? And then like you start thinking about those qualities, and then turn that back on yourself. Take those qualities and say, okay, well, if I'm expecting this from other people, am I expecting this of myself? Am I expecting these qualities of myself to be a good partner, to be a good friend? And that goes as far as husbands, wives, brothers, sisters, aunts and uncles, or nieces and nephews, anybody in this world. Are you taking those same values that you expect out of the other person and actually expecting that out of yourself? And then are you practicing that? Are you actually practicing those values, so that way you're exuding exactly the kind of people you want to be around you? Take that into marketing, right? If you're being authentic and you're being transparent and you're telling people that you're not perfect, that's great. But are you actually doing those things? Or are you saying that just to attract that person? So if you're actually doing those things and you're exuding that in your content, in your lives, in your marketing, those kinds of people that have those qualities, that are respectable, have integrity, have good values, they're going to be attracted to you. But if you're saying that and not actually practicing that internally, then you're going to attract the people that you are. So if you're self-centered, you're going to attract self-centered people. That's just how it works. So if you're feeling like you may be acting self-centered, start doing a little bit of introspective work, right? Ask yourself, what qualities do you expect of yourself that would make you a good partner? And then that will come out in your actions. So another action that can ruin friendships is really just going day by day without reflecting on things that happen in your day. Because if you're not aware of the things that are happening in your day, you start getting into this robotic, autonomous kind of mindset where you start doing things that you wouldn't necessarily do because it was an automatic reaction. So for example, let's say that you were talking with a friend and you were distracted because you were thinking about something different. You weren't engaged in the conversation and you said something that they kind of took a little off, and you never reflected on that. You never looked into that. You never thought about what it is that you said. And then later on, they start kind of acting weird, right? And you start thinking to yourself, well, why are you acting like that? Well, if you didn't see, if you didn't have that introspective work and that self-reflection, you didn't know that. And maybe that could be a weakness, right? Maybe that could be something that you can improve on within your mindset, within the way that you speak to people and the way that you react to people. So take this for an example. Let's say one of your weaknesses, like me, I know one of my weaknesses is I talk too much. I sometimes can take control of the conversation in the event that I get in the conversation and I just have a lot to say. And so I've done enough self-reflection that I can recognize when I'm taking too much control of the conversation, and I'll dial myself back. It's taken a lot of work to get there, but it's still a weakness. It's not a strength for me yet. It can be a strength at times, but it's not. Now imagine someone who doesn't have that self-reflection or that introspection. Imagine what kind of reaction they would get from people when they're just constantly going subject to subject, talking and talking and talking, and never letting anybody else speak. Well, let's say someone exposes that weakness to them. Do you think they're going to be receptive of it? Probably not. So in a friendship, if you're not being introspective in your own weaknesses and strengths and understanding where you excel, understanding where you might not, when you get that negative feedback, excuse me, you're going to start going through the actual the feelings, right? The denial, the anger. Then you're going to maybe accept it. And then you'll be like, oh man, now I'm terrible. You're going to go through grief and sadness because you feel bad because you didn't recognize. But initially, that denial and anger, someone goes, hey, you talk too much. Can you tone it down a bit? You're going to be hurt. You're going to get angry. You're going to be mad. But if you knew that that was a weakness, if you knew that that was one of your shortcomings and someone exposed that, you've already gone through all those feelings. You knew that you talk too much. You knew that you need to get better at listening. And when they bring it up, instead of you being like, oh, it's like, sorry for being knowledgeable or sorry, whatever, you're going to go, oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, let me just, here, you talk for a bit. I've talked enough. The difference is going to be your reaction. Instead of reacting, you're going to respond because you're aware, and your willingness to initiate that cycle yourself and reflect on the things that aren't your strongest qualities will also give you new ways to improve on those things and will help you be a better friend and build better relationships because you won't react and get defensive and be in denial when someone actually brings that up. So kind of an interesting point with that one, but it definitely can be a little interesting at times. And then the last one here, so the third point of, actions that can kill friendships. Now, this one's going to be, it's a fine line. It's a very fine line, but there's a difference between confidence and arrogance, right? And so confidence is great for friendships. You being confident, honestly, like you knowing what you want out of that friendship, take the first 2 points, right? You don't want somebody who's self-centered. You know that you don't want to be self-centered. You don't want to react to people when they bring up your shortcomings. You're super, super confident in your abilities to be a great friend. And confidence in friendships can also be great for when you guys are going to do something together. Maybe you're going out to a new place that you've never been before, or maybe you're going to on a trip together, or maybe you're going into a business venture together. And you want that confidence to be able to bring that friend with you and say, "Hey, we got this. This is ours. This is our time. We can do this." And you bring that forward. The difference is when there's arrogance, right? And so the line is really difficult to draw, but an arrogant one is someone who feels they're superior to others instead of being confident in their abilities and talents. So let's take that conversation a little bit differently. Instead of saying, "Hey, we got this," it's, "Hey, I got this. Let me just show you what to do." Or, "Hey, I've already done this, so I don't need to really do anything here, but I'm bringing you along because I want you to experience this too." Or maybe you've heard somebody that say, so this is one of my favorites, right? So this is an example that I actually have had personal experience with from both people doing this to me and me realizing I've done this to people, is I already know that, so I don't need to learn that. But you should learn that because you should be at my level. I never knew that at the time, I didn't know that I was like that. And when it got exposed to me, I wasn't ready for it. And so point number 2, right? I didn't initiate that cycle before it happened. So I was like, wow, I'm not like that. Like, am I like that? And when it got exposed to me, I looked back and I thought, wow, I have been like that at times. But that is a difference between confidence and arrogance. A confident person would have been like, "You know what? I've gone through this before. And honestly, it was really, really awesome. I know a lot of the information. So feel free to let me know if you have questions. But why don't we go through it together? And that way, if you do have questions, I'll be right there with you." That's confidence. That is that, like, I know this stuff and I will help you, but why don't we do this together, right? Or let's go on this journey together. You're confident that you're going to have the ability to help this person. And then they're going to build their confidence because you are going into this with that confidence. So they're like, "Well, hey, if Josh can do it, shoot, I can do this. Like, let's do this." Instead of, "Oh, well, Josh already went through it and he says that, he's really good at it. And yeah, I don't know. I just, he can just do it. And I'll ask him if I need anything." Like, you notice the difference? And like that ruins friendships so fast because people start distancing themselves. They start being like, I don't want to go to Josh because he's just going to make me feel like I'm dumb. Or I don't want to go to Josh because he's going to make it seem like I don't know what I'm doing. And I know I still struggle with that sometimes, where my confidence can come across as arrogance. And I try to not be that way, but I'm aware of it. And so when it happens and I hear those things, I can quickly turn around and go, hey, sorry. Like, and I can apologize for it. And I can be apologetic and say, "You know what? I'm sorry. I didn't mean it that way." And that's something is like, somebody who's arrogant rarely apologizes for their wrongdoings. Very rarely. And I know one of the things I've done a lot more is I'll go back and listen to messages or read messages that people have said, like they've given me a weird response. And I'll be like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I totally should have worded that different." Or, "I'm so sorry. I should have, said that different." And so there's definitely, a difference there, but it's, like I said, it's a fine line, because one person may take confidence as arrogance and another person may take arrogance as confidence. And like Kim said, yes, I'm growing. I'm a work in progress, damn it. And I'm always going to be a work in progress, because leaders are learners and learners are leaders. And that's the thing I live by. And I will always keep growing. But so a quick recap for those of you that are just coming around. So we're talking about actions that cost you friendships, actions that ruin friendships. And number 1 was self-centeredness, just really caring about yourself and not caring about the other person, intellectually, emotionally, physically. This goes really well with marriages, right? People who are self-centered, like, hey, you do all these things for me because I bring home the bacon. Well, that doesn't make the other person feel good, right? Number 2 was living day to day without stopping to self-reflect and improve your weaknesses, or at least be aware of your weaknesses. Going around and just acting like you're hot shit and that you don't really, you don't stink, and your weaknesses, when someone calls you out for a weakness, you'd get all bent out of shape and whatever. Like, that's the big thing, is that's not having that introspective work, that self-reflective mentality can really hurt people, because you're not aware of those things. And so when it gets called out, it's going to hurt, and it hurts a lot. And sometimes that ruins friendships, because you feel like they're attacking your integrity. You feel like they're attacking your values. And the third one was confidence, right? And there's a fine line between confidence and arrogance, and they can be seen as each other. But the difference is, confidence is knowing you're good and not, like, knowing you're good with something and not boasting about it, right? So knowing you're good at riding a bike, but not telling other people they're stupid for not knowing how to ride a bike. Be more helpful, be more in tune with people's needs. And so all in all, everybody loves a friend who puts in an effort. I mean, that's the thing, is I always tell my friends, I will do my best to put in an effort. But if you put in an effort back, like, our friendship's going to be great. If you make an effort to be a friend, I'm going to do my best to make an effort to be a friend. It may not happen every day, every week, or every month, but we're going to put in that effort together. And so we all have weaknesses. Honestly, there's no person out there that doesn't have some sort of weakness. But if we're not willing to be aware of what's going on in our mind and our heart, we're just going to end up pushing people away. So take these tips. Hopefully it's been good for you. Hopefully you've been able to grow a little bit. We can grow together. That's what this is going to be all about. Keep tuned in, because I'm going real deep in a lot of this stuff. Mindset is really important to me, and I know that this is going to help people out there. And I'm actually learning in the process, because as I'm putting this content together, I'm finding more things to really build myself up to be a better leader as well. So this is not, this is just as much for me as it is for you guys. Being able to teach you fills my cup too. And yes, Tony, you are absolutely right. Take time to self-reflect before you react. 100%. It's a hard concept, and I still struggle with it to this day. But if you can take time to say, you know what, I need a minute, and go think about it and reflect on how you feel and come back with a good response, things will be a heck of a lot better. So that's all I got for you tonight. Thanks everybody for hanging out with me. Kim, Harvey, Tony, you guys are awesome. Love you guys. And we will see you next week with another power session.